Hi, this is John Rowell for the Rowell Report. Happy holidays to everyone, and if you're traveling, safe travels. So just a brief report today on a political article. Europe is failing Ukraine, so once again the moaning and groaning about the failed attempt to snatch the Russian frozen assets and to unload this mega donation upon one of the countries on this planet that is of the most corrupt, and where this money would really never do much other than fill the pockets of people who will soon be fleeing the country and looking for some golden parachute in some part of the world, whether in the UK, whether in Miami, whether in New York, whether in some European capital. So anyway, Europe supposedly failed Ukraine. They didn't grab the Russian frozen assets. And of course, Belgium said, hey, if you grab these frozen Russian assets, you're going to get freezer burn. And they were joined by France, by Italy. So France and Italy have very high debts. And if Europe was to have its rating lowered, then this could send shockwaves through the financial market in Europe and affect these countries, especially if taking these frozen Russian assets would mean that there would be a run on the bank in Euroclear, as China, Saudi Arabia, and other countries went to grab their money before it was frozen for some odd reason that later would appear on the scene of history. So anyway, Belgium said, hey, let's not go there. These are sovereign assets of Russia. Doesn't matter the country. We have a fiduciary responsibility to manage them. And if you want the money, then you need to have not only to back up that amount, the 210 billion or whatever it is. We not only need to back up that amount, but we need to be prepared for any penalties in case we lose court cases. So we need even more. And so these other countries like France and Italy were basically saying, we're not willing to go there either, because that's just too much, and we don't have the money to be able to just put it in a bank account waiting for Russia to sue Euroclear and to see what happens. So anyway, Belgium, France, and Italy got kind of sensible, but the one who didn't was German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who was left marooned on Fantasy Island. So he was like, we're going to get those assets, we're going to get those assets, we're going to get those assets. And it turned out, no, you're not going to get those assets. And not only that, all your buddies abandon you on Fantasy Island. So anyway, some people say, hey, we can get those frozen Russian assets. But the point is, Euroclear is the one who controls those frozen assets. And in second place, Belgium. And neither Belgium nor Euroclear are interested in anyone getting their hands on the frozen Russian assets. Not because of some legal anxieties, as said here by the political article, but because this could create a run on the bank. So they don't want that. They don't want the euro to nosedive, and as countries like China come in to say, hey, we're next, so we're getting our money out. So anyway, the whole point of this article is how Europe is failing Ukraine. But if you look in this image here, you can see all these Ukrainian flags, and these represent, a fallen Ukrainian soldier. And the truth is that the Ukrainian military cemeteries are filling up, and some are already full. So there's no place to put all of these fallen Ukrainian soldiers, and yet Politico, Mertz, Ursula von der Leyen, Kaya Kallas, and others want Ukraine to continue to fight to the last man. And after that, then what is Ukraine going to be? It's going to be, a country of little kids. It's going to be a country of women and a country of old people. So where is the, from where are they going to get families? From where are they going to get workers for, tough manual labor like in the mines and in the fields and elsewhere? So, these European leaders just continue to stay on Fantasy Island there with Mertz and dream about, Ukraine coming up with a crushing victory, and Russia is splintered into 3 or 4 chunks. And this is the dream of Kaya Kallas and many people in Europe, that somehow Ukraine, with its, its unkillable soldier and with all its, military might, would just mow down the Russians like a lawnmower mowing grass. So that was their dream, and this is the reality. This is the cemeteries where all these Ukrainian men have gone because they were killed in the war. So it's very sad, and anyone who isn't sad with that, really, this is a tragedy, and it's a very unfortunate. So anyway, we still have these European leaders that still want to get their hands on the Russian assets and keep the Ukraine going in this conflict until they don't have anyone left to put on the front line. How stupid is that? So anyway, they really need to stop while they're ahead. At least at this point, if they stop, it's probably 4 oblasts plus Crimea. If they don't stop, it's going to be 8 oblasts plus Crimea, or it could be something even more. So, and there were 3 countries that decided to, there was the loan that was made to Ukraine for, 90 billion euros. And they say it's a loan, but does anyone think that they'll ever get that money back? So basically it was a gift to Ukraine, 90 billion. And not all European Union countries decided to pitch in to support Ukraine. There were 3 countries, Hungary, Slovakia, and Czech Republic, that said, hey, this is a very poor use of money, and, we can't approve that because this is our, citizens' money. This isn't money to go to a country that's not even a European Union country, that's the most corrupt in the world, and just ignores all common sense to try to continue in a war. So, anyway, the main point of this article is Europe is failing Ukraine, and the reason it gives is that they didn't get a hold of those Russian frozen assets. But here in the image with all these flags, this is the true failing of Europe, pushing Ukraine to continue fighting until the last man. And all we have left now in Ukraine are full military cemeteries with no more room for soldiers who have died, and, a population, a demographics that is in crisis, and a country, even if it was able to if it was able to keep parts of Donetsk or Luhansk or Zaporizhia or Kherson, it will be a total disaster for Ukraine, because, where are the men going to come from to marry the women who are still in Ukraine and have families and raise children, and who's going to want to be in living in Ukraine after the war with, no money? Ukraine is basically going to be insolvent, and its inflation will go through the roof. They will have high unemployment. Their industry, which would have been converted into making arms and making missiles and making drones now have to be converted back into domestic uses. So all that will be a slow process. And eventually Ukraine will be left with a lot less people than it has now. And it's going to be basically bankrupt and insolvent, and without really the people or the economy to lift itself out of the ruin that was left behind. So I think that's the true failing of Europe, and Europe needs to wake up, needs to tell Ukraine, hey, get the best you can right now, stop the war. But you won't hear that from any of the most hawkish European leaders. You may hear that from Fico of Slovakia or Orban from Hungary, but many of the European leaders completely ignore them, as well as Zelensky. So it is a terrible failure that Europe continues to push Ukraine along as they bleed out more population, more soldiers' lives, and they continue to lose cities. Eventually they will lose Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Odessa, and then they will eventually lose access to the Black Sea. So all that would be a huge loss for Ukraine, which needs to maintain its population, needs to maintain these big, wealthy industrial areas, and needs to maintain access to the Black Sea. So anyway, that is my report for today. If you joined me, thank you so much. If you like this report, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in future videos. And again, happy holidays and safe travels. Bye-bye.